Welcome back everyone, and welcome to our online viewers. And the topic of this lecture is a continuation of DNA and the true cause of disease. In our last lecture we had a look at how you really can't blame the genes, because even though genetics may load the gun, it is lifestyle that pulls the trigger. And I think you'll agree with me, many are sick through ignorance, not realising what they're doing and how it's actually feeding those negative genes. And you can't blame the germ either. So the whole world didn't have to shut down over a virus. And I think everyone looks back now and realises that. And the procedures they put in place to stop the spread actually haven't, have you noticed, and even been part of spreading it more. And did you know that the virus is something like 1 micron, and the holes in the masks are about 5 microns, which means it can get through the mask. And when you're wearing a mask, what are you breathing in? Your own waste. I'm the master of my destiny, and God gave me, it's a God-given right that I choose what I do, what I put into my body. And because God's government is a government of freedom, any government that comes in with mandates to restrict your movements or to restrict your right to go or do what you want to do, be very concerned. It's time for humanity to stand up and protest. What I'd like to look now is I'd like to go a little bit further with the role of microorganisms in disease. When I was a little girl, I used to get bronchitis every year. I realise now I had a dairy allergy. I'm a 5th generation Australian, Scottish descent. So I don't think dairy was in my heritage, because I can't handle it, my siblings can't handle it. If someone was born in a dairy family and they've been doing dairy for 5 generations, they can usually handle it quite well. They can drink a glass of raw milk and do very well on it, but I'm afraid I cannot. But I also notice what I said, a glass of raw organic milk. There's a big difference between raw organic milk and what you buy in the supermarket. Did you know that if you give a newborn calf the milk in the supermarket, that calf will die? Because it's so different from the milk that comes out of the cow. I now know that I got bronchitis every year because of my intolerance to dairy. I didn't know that back then, and my parents didn't know that back then. My mother would take me to the doctor, and the doctor would give me this cherry flavoured medicine, and I would take it a couple of times a day for a week, and I'd be well. Isn't that what we're taught? Germ makes you sick, take an antibiotic which will kill the germ and it will make you well. You know, the research is now showing, in fact I was reading of one research that was done, 100 people got the flu, 50 took antibiotics, 50 didn't, and they all got better. Because there's a time factor, and that's often what we don't give it. And if someone says to me, I've had a cold for 2 weeks, I'm still coughing, I said, yeah, you usually will. Have you noticed that? You'll cough. You often cough for a couple of weeks, because you know what a cold is, it's a house clean. And it was in the 1940s that the Common Cold Research Unit was set up in Salisbury, London, in England, to find the cause and the cure of the common cold. After about 40 years, they closed down in disgrace because of total inability to find the cause and the cure of the common cold, because they never will, because it's a house clean. And that's what often these guys come in to do. They come in to clean up the house. So if you can keep the house clean, there's actually no need for these to do much. And if you notice when you got a cold, you're blowing your nose a lot. What's all that? That's waste. Waste coming out. And when you cough over those yellow lumps, rejoice. Where was it before you coughed it up? It's actually cleaning up the house. It's part of the cycle of life. So what did the doctor give me? He gave me antibiotics. What's an antibiotic? Let's have an assessment of what it is. Anti means against. Biotic means life. And as living organisms, we have to get away from the kill mentality. Because anything that has the ability to kill a small organism has the potential to kill a large. And what are we? We're the large. What is an antibiotic? Alexander Fleming, 1929, he's growing bacteria in flasks in his laboratory, and he comes in one morning and his bacteria is all dead. And as a scientist, he knew Newton's third law of motion. To every action, there's an equal and an opposite reaction. Why did his bacteria die? He looked around the laboratory, nothing there could have done it, but he noticed that a window was open, the sun was coming in, and there was a heavy dust on the sun's rays, and it was settling on his bacteria. So he investigated more, and he found that as he looked at the source of this dust that was coming in, and it was very fine. In fact, if the sun hadn't been there, he might not have hardly noticed it. On the next story, there was an open window, and in the open window there was a plate of fruit, and in the plate of fruit there was a mouldy orange. And the dust was coming down from the mouldy orange, landing on his bacteria and killing it. The mould, he gave the name of penicillium. And the mould waste, which is even more toxic than the mould, he gave the name penicillic acid. And the penicillic acid is the penicillin that we know today. And granted, penicillin has saved the lives of probably millions. Has, is, and will continue. But we've got a problem today, and it's the overuse of the penicillin, overuse of the antibiotic. I'm not against antibiotics. In a crisis, they may save a life. But the problem today is that for a sore finger, for a sore knee, people are being given antibiotics. A friend of mine, I was talking to her last night, her husband has a gut problem and he was given an antibiotic, and they tested him and they felt that there was still some sort of bacteria in his gut, so they gave him a stronger course, and he's no better at all. And now they say, well, if you go to the specialist, and the specialist said, well, we'll put you into hospital and we'll do IV antibiotics, but it'll cost you $10,000. You know, what's happening in his gut? One health writer said, you take an antibiotic, it's like dropping an atomic bomb in your gut. What did the atomic bomb do? It killed the good and bad alike. What we've got to look at it is, why is it there? We've got to bring back the balance into the gut rather than coming in with this kill mentality. And have you noticed, many people that take an antibiotic, then they get thrush. Why do they get thrush? Because what's antibiotic? An antibiotic is a mould. It's a mould waste. To date, I have always said, and in my research I discovered, 5 million different yeasts, molds and funguses have been documented. My husband said to me, he's my biggest critique. If I can pass Michael, I'll pass anyone. I'm glad he's my critique. He said, I don't believe that. I said, oh, well, check it out. He said 25 million. Oh, it's this big. And each mould can have 2 or 3 different mould wastes. And probably one of the most famous moulds is Aspergillus. And in his book, The China Study, Dr. Colin Campbell, he was asked to go to the Philippines because children were dying of liver cancer between the age of 8 and 10 years of age. Liver cancer, something that often only gets adults, and even that, alcoholics. And what he found was the common denominator was peanut butter, and every jar of peanut butter had the mould waste in it, which comes from Aspergillus, which is aflatoxin. And aflatoxin directly affects, you guessed it, the liver. He presumed that the wealthy children would be okay, but the poorer children would be dying. But he found the opposite would be true. The poorer country children were actually surviving. It was the city children that were dying, because he just presumed the city children, their diet would be better. Well, the country children, they're eating vegetables, they're eating maybe some local fish, maybe a little bit of soy, but the city children, they were eating what Time magazine coined as the meat sweet diet. High meat, high dairy, high sugar, high refined. They were the ones that were dying. And Colin Campbell scratched his head because in med school he was taught you need meat for protein and you need milk for calcium. Unfortunately, that's about all that they are taught. And so this surprised him. As the years went by, he started to do his own research. And he did it on a lot of rats. You see, rats have the same gastrointestinal tract as humans, but they only live 2 years, whereas humans live, 70, 80 years. So what you can see what would happen to a human in 80 years in a rat in 2 years. So what he did was he injected 20 rats with aflatoxin. 10 of the rats he gave 20% animal protein, 10 of the rats 5% animal protein. At the end of 2 years, every rat on the 20% animal protein was dying or already dead from liver cancer. But the 5% animal protein, there was no cancer. And he said that he could switch it around after 1 year. So after 1 year, he switched it. Stopped the 20% animal protein and gave them 5% animal protein, and then the other way around. After 1 year, the 5% animal protein didn't have cancer, but as soon as they went to 20% animal protein, the cancer rose up. And when they stopped the 20% and went to 5%, the cancer stopped growing. Isn't that incredible? It actually shows exactly what Antoine Beauchamp was saying. Disease is born innocent of us. So what we're eating and what we're drinking is having an effect on our cells, having an effect on disease in our body. I also have a book at home called Mycotoxins, and it was put out by the Agricultural Department in Australia, and it's looking at mycotoxins. You see, mould waste, the medical term for mould waste, is a mycotoxin. Myco means mould, fungus. Toxin, of course, is a poison. And it shows there that every year it goes into billions of dollars, the loss in agriculture and also livestock from mould. And they were showing that they had this grain that was mouldy, not even pigs would eat it. They covered it with molasses, the pigs still would not even eat it. And yet pigs are seen as will eat anything. But what I found very interesting was that in the early 1900s there was an epidemic of cardiac beriberi all through Asia, a heart problem. And they traced it to the mould growing on cooked rice. Rice moulds incredibly easier, much easier than any other grain. So in 1921 they passed the Rice Act, putting stringent rules on the storing of cooked rice. So rice could not be kept more than 24 hours. After 24 hours it had to be discarded. So if you make sushi, it has to be cooked in the morning and sushi's made at lunch, or fried rice cooked in the morning, made at lunch, or at night, but not for the next day. Cardiac beriberi wiped out. So just as aflatoxin directly affects the liver, this mould waste from the cooked rice directly affected the heart. And I had a few pathologists to our program, and one guy said when he was in university they found the two things that always tested positive for mould was peanuts and cooked rice. And then we had a lady also did our program who worked in a fast food place. She said when the inspectors come round, they go straight to the rice and test it. So it is acknowledged that rice moulds very, very easy. Now I remember one young man I was consulting with a few years ago. He was 30, he had a few health problems. I couldn't fault what he was doing, he didn't drink, didn't smoke, he exercised. So I went back to his food. He ate a lot of rice. He said, yeah, I cook a pot of rice on Sunday and it does me all week. Aha. You see, that mould, You only see it when it's to its reproductive stage. So it's already developing before you can even see it with the naked eye. There are 4 ways that mould can get into the body. One is through the skin. So if there's a mouldy orange in your bowl at home, don't touch it with your hand. Don't breathe it in. You can breathe it in. Get tongs and take it outside, put it in the compost bin. So it can come in through your skin, you can breathe it, and you can eat it. It can come in ingestion, and it can be sexually transferred. If you go to a medical textbook and look up myco, you will look up page after page after page of different diseases that have a myco prefix, meaning they're coming from fungus or mould. And as I studied all this, we touched on it in my nutrition course, and I started to explore it more and more. That's why I wrote my book, Self-Heal by Design. So now the $1 million question is, but how do you get it out of the body? How you get it out of the body, number 1 is to starve it. So what's its favourite food? Loves sugar. And if you don't give it sugar, it'll happily eat lots of the sugar from fruit. And loves yeast too. And so we suggest no yeast in the diet, not brewer's yeast, not nutritional yeast, none of the yeasts. No yeast bread, the sourdough bread, because it's a combination of wild yeast and lactobacillus. It's the same combination that you see in your gut. Traditionally, all bread was the sourdough method because it basically pre-digests the grain. So you starve the fungus. And in my research, I also saw how some researchers are going one step further and showing the link between fungus and cancer. And there's a book in the library there, it's called Cancer is a Fungus by Dr. Tullio Simoncini. He's an Italian oncologist. So has he got a Nobel Prize, especially considering he was getting about a 90% success rate? Because you know what he would do? He would inject sodium bicarbonate straight into the cancer, and the cancer couldn't survive. Because with cancer, it thrives in an acid environment. It also is a high glucose consumer. And cancer also hates oxygen. So it likes an anaerobic environment, no oxygen. So when he was injecting sodium bicarbonate in, it's the ultimate alkalizer, gives a wave of alkalinity so the cancer can't survive. So did he get a Nobel Prize for this? No, he was thrown into jail. All his qualifications have been taken away. Apparently, he injected someone with sodium bicarbonate. I don't know the details, but apparently the man died. And you know what I think? Was the man about to die? Not my husband said. If only he'd injected him with chemotherapy, he wouldn't be in jail, would he? No. And he's had all his qualifications taken away from him. He's on a charge of manslaughter. Because you can't patent sodium bicarbonate, can you? Can you drink sodium bicarbonate? All you'll do is neutralise your stomach acid. And that could be helpful if someone had stomach cancer. But if they had stomach cancer, they could drink the sodium bicarbonate as soon as they wake up in the morning. But when it comes to the mealtime, you want an acid environment because that's how your protein gets broken down. If cancer consumes high glucose, that's why getting the glucose levels right down. So if someone comes to us wanting help to conquer cancer, we suggest eliminating all fruit, all sugars. So what do they eat? Lots of vegetables, lots of legumes, some nuts and seeds. And there's so many vegetables and so many legumes and so many nuts and seeds, you can have quite a nice variety. But if someone has a fungal problem in their body. Maybe it's something like thrush or jock itch, anal itch, vaginal thrush, eczemas, things like this. They don't necessarily need to totally stop fruit, just get it right down. And we've seen quite a few people recover from cancer. And so what we do is we get them to go on the low glucose diet for about 6 weeks. So in my book I define that. Plus, very important to make sure that the person's house or, they're not getting reinfected with mould. One lady who had breast cancer, she explained her house. Her house had big gum trees all at the back of the house. And this was the sunny side of the house. And her bedroom was there, and she had an ensuite there that didn't have a window, and between the ensuite and her bedroom was her wardrobe. And there were gum trees also here, and there was a veranda. In Australia we have verandas, so that got probably about 10 minutes sun a day, if that. And she said her wardrobe is always mouldy. Her shoes are always mouldy. The leather belts are always mouldy. It's always damp. And she had breast cancer. And when she heard about the link between mould and cancer, she just put her head down. She's only 35. She had no idea. You see, along here, the children's bedrooms, and they had a bathroom here, and there's, maybe rooms like that, but they were getting bits of sun, and their bathroom had a window, and it had big windows along here where the sunny air came through, but it was just that little corner in her house. That's why I say get the trees away from the house, get skylights in, get fans in, let the air and the sunshine get into the house. You see, if mould is in the house, you have to ask why. It's only there if it's not, if it's conducive for its growth. Was very sad about this lady because she only lived another 3 months. She had 3 little children. It was very sad. But when she was at our program, she rang up her husband. She said, I can't go home. I can't go back to that house. See, she was the cleaner in the house, and her husband, he just was there really at night, and when he was there in the day, he was rarely in the bedroom. And she was the cleaner of the house, so whenever the mould was there, she'd clean it. And if you clean mould, as soon as you start wiping it, you start breathing in the... And if you put bleach on it, you create one of the most toxic mixes. So what can you do? You can spray it with white vinegar, spray the whole thing with white vinegar and leave the room. Come back 10 minutes later and then wipe it up because the vinegar will kill it. But you've got to find out why it's there, because there should be no mould in a house. So you've got to starve it, make sure. Remember, these are opportunist organisms, and if there's a lot of waste going in, those microorganisms have something to eat. Also, kill. I do think we've got to get away from the kill mentality, but there are herbs that will kill fungus and won't kill you. Isn't that good news? Things like grapefruit seed extract, oregano essential oil, garlic. In my book I list a whole lot of things. Number 3 is balance. Bring back the balance. Early this morning, one of your first drinks was Lactobacillus acidophilus, bifidobacterium powder, coming down into the gut to restore the balance in the gut. Our body runs according to precision balance. Alkalis. Every juice that you will get over the next 2 days is alkalizing. And you'll notice that a lot of the drinks are a green colour or a red colour or an orange colour. So they're all the beta-carotenes. We'll look at that a bit more tomorrow. All alkalizing drinks. The only part of your body that should be acid is your stomach. Everything else should be alkaline. But body's waste is acid. And tomorrow morning I will be going into detail in what's happening with your liver tomorrow morning as you go through this detox. So that's a very simple little technique that you can use to get the yeast out of your body and bring back the balance. But what I'd like to look at now is I'd like to look at, as you go through the detox, how you can encourage or enhance the waste coming out of your body. And there are 4 organs of elimination. And one organ, the largest organ, actually is the skin. And we don't think of the skin as an organ of elimination, but it isn't an organ of elimination. And the skin has certain needs for it to be effective organ of elimination. And one of the needs that the skin requires is to breathe. So please check that everything that's touching your skin is going to allow your skin to breathe. So ideally only natural fibre against your skin. Bamboo, a lot of things are made out of bamboo today, that's viscose. And there, ladies and gents, there's a brand called Booty, and they have a lot of underwear, sports bras, they have singlets, I think you call them undershirts, leggings. In fact, I think the leggings I have on today are Booty, and they're made out of bamboo. So they'll be about 98% viscose, which is bamboo, and about 10%, I think 2% elastine. That helps it to be stretchy. So be careful what's touching your skin. And the 3 fabrics that were made in a chemical laboratory are acrylic and nylon and polyester. Polyester. So you have a look in a lot of shops today, and a lot of fabric, a lot of clothes are made out of these. And a lot of ladies like them because they don't have to iron. But there are 3 that are made out of wood pulp that you might not be aware. One's viscose, that's specifically bamboo. Another is rayon, that's made out of wood pulp. And modal, modal's becoming a popular one. It's the cellulose spun from the birch tree. So these are considered natural fabrics because they're made out of wood. It is true that a chemical is used to soften them because it's lovely soft material. It's like the polyester, but when you wear it, you don't get sticky and sweaty because it breathes. So all you have to do is wash them and hang them on the clothesline. I hope you have a clothesline. We have clotheslines. Do you know I've never owned a dryer? I just hang my clothes out on the line. That's what we do in Australia. The sun purifies. Very good to put your clothes out in the sunshine. Even if you buy cotton, you still have to wash it and put it in the sun for the day because it's one of the most sprayed crops, especially in Australia. So they're made out of natural fibre. So be careful what's touching your skin because your skin absorbs, your skin breathes, and your skin throws off waste. What your skin also needs in regard to breathing is to make sure that the creams you put on your skin have no chemicals in them, because we're trying to detox from chemicals, don't want any more going in. If you find that your moisturiser has got some nasty names in it, and it's easy now, if you don't know what it is, just Google it. Have a look at the name and it'll tell you. And if you find out your moisturiser has got some nasty things in it, we've got lots of coconut oil. Coconut oil on the skin might feel a bit sticky, but within about 5 minutes you'll find it soaked through. Your skin also needs to throw off waste, and it uses water to throw off the waste. So we ask that you please ensure that you keep well hydrated. So that's at least 8 glasses of water a day. Start early. This is what I do. Have half a glass when I wake up, Go to the bathroom, have another half glass, get dressed, have another half glass, pray, have another half glass, read my Bible, have another half glass, run up and down hills. Go. So you spread it out. And if you have that little bit of salt before every glass of water, it helps to get the water inside the cell. The more you perspire, the more salt that you need. And the salt that we use is Himalayan salt. That's the pink salt, but the best one is the Celtic salt. A lot of people don't like it because it's wet, but it's wet because of the magnesiums. It has 3 magnesiums in it. And it's magnesium particularly that will get the water into the cell. So make sure you're having water in and out. If you have a glass of water between every juice, you'll easily make up your 8 glasses in a day. And water out. We've got lots of water here. We've got this fantastic well. So have as many showers as you feel you need to. The steam bath is particularly effective at getting the waste out. In fact, when the skin's given the right conditions, excuse me, up to 70% of body's waste can come out via the skin. Now that's impressive. And I think it's one of the easiest ways to get rid of the waste is via the skin. But what we require is that you be well hydrated before you go into the steam sauna. The only time we've had a lady faint in the steam bath is when she went in and she wasn't well hydrated and she didn't have the cold water. One lady said, "Oh, I'll do the steam bath, but I don't want to do the cold." I said, "Well, you can't do it." Because that quick cold equalizes the circulation and prevents chilling. So again, water. We need the water in and we need the water out. And you'll find it gets a little easier. It is winter and your cold is cold, but you don't have to have the cold water until you're very hot, so it's almost a refreshment. Have you ever watched any stuff by Wim Hof? Yeah, he's the guy that climbs Himalayan mountains in shorts and t-shirts, and he's trained himself to get used to the cold. So you can train yourself. I've trained myself. I dive in the water every morning. What does the skin need for it to be an effective organ of elimination? Yes, it needs you to be well hydrated, and the steam sauna is incredibly effective at getting that waste out. But make sure you go in well hydrated. You can't hydrate your body half an hour before the steam bath, and juice will not hydrate you. It must be water. So start early in the morning, little by little by little, have your water. The skin also needs you to exercise. So we give you an exercise program in the morning, but we do encourage you to go for walks through the day. This is the best time to do walks, is the cold weather, because you're going to get hot and the cool air is so nice. Also the rebounder, that little trampoline, the mini trampoline, it stimulates your lymphatic system. You know the health bounce is just this. If you're not used to rebounding, start with the health bounce, and as you get better at it, you can start going more. And what the rebounder does is it stimulates your lymphatic system, and your lymphatic system is your body's vacuum cleaner. So this program, your body's having a house clean. So if you can rebound, try and rebound about 3 minutes 3 times a day while you're here, and that will stimulate your lymphatic system. And as your lymphatic system sweeps waste away from the tissues, it'll be released out when you have your steam sauna. It can also be released out via your lungs, and to be able to ensure that your lungs are an effective organ of elimination, it's very important that you breathe only through your nose. Nose and nose only. We're going to look at this in more detail on Wednesday morning. You'll get better at it, even exercising. As I was running fast up hills this morning, that's the biggest challenge, keeping the mouth shut. But you'll actually get more oxygen into your cell if you breathe in and out only through the nose. Also, breathe deep. We call it God's LSD. God's LSD long, slow, deep. So at 2:30 this morning, when jet lag was keeping me awake, I went to long, slow, deep breathing, and often that'll put you back to sleep. Lungs also need you to be well hydrated. So make sure you're drinking adequate water. Exercise is the best stimulator of your lungs. So try and do extra exercises through the day. The other organ of elimination is your kidneys. And for your kidneys to be effectively eliminating waste, again, keep well hydrated. Your urine should be the colour of water, almost. It's probably a little bit yellow tinged this week because we're giving you B vitamins. Your kidneys also need you to keep warm. Make sure around your kidney area is well covered. Your kidneys love you to exercise because when you exercise, your kidneys are moving. You don't think of your kidneys moving when you exercise. And when you're on the rebounder, every jump on the rebounder is strengthening and toning those kidneys. It also increases the circulation of the blood to the kidneys, which means more blood can be filtered. Only microscopic waste can come out of the skin, the lungs and the kidneys. The largest pieces of waste are eliminated via the colon. And the colon has a mind of its own, have you noticed? If you're going too much and you tell it to stop, it won't. And if you can't go and you tell it to go, it won't. It has a mind of its own. What the colon needs is gentle stimulation. So let me show you how you can gently stimulate your colon. It doesn't need irritation, it needs gentle stimulation. To understand how this happens, I'm going to draw you a picture of your colon. And the appendix is right at the end of the small intestine. And the appendix is a very important part of the colon. God did not make a mistake when he put the appendix there. The appendix lubricates the colon, and it also releases antibacterial fluid, so that if what's coming out of here is toxic, then the antibacterial fluid from the appendix can calm it down. So please hold on to your appendix if possible. What happens if it's been taken away? I'm terribly sorry that it was taken away. But the good news is we have a body that has an inbuilt ability to adapt and adjust. Isn't that good news? But ideally you hold on to your appendix. So your colon needs gentle stimulation. So let's have a look at what stimulates the colon. Fibre stimulates the colon. And that's why fibre is so important for us to eat. And all your plant food has fibre. If you're eating a plant-based diet, you've got lots of fibre. If you're eating a lot of meat, you haven't got much fibre at all, because meat does not have fibre. Also, refined foods don't have fibre. So this is your whites, your white rices, your white breads. All of those have no fibre. I was reading in a newspaper when I was in the US a few years ago that colorectal cancer was the #2 killer in America. This is in a nation of a lot of people who aren't eating enough fibre. Dr. Kellogg said 2 intakes of food a day should equal 2 evacuations. 3 intakes of food a day should equal 3 evacuations a day. He claims that if a person's eating 3 meals a day and only having 1 evacuation, they're constipated. And yet many people think that going once a day, eating 3 is they're not. So make sure you have plenty of fibre. We're not giving you any fibre for 2.5 days, and so we offer you herbs. And these herbs come in a mix. We call it the colon tea mix. Some people need it, some people don't. Some people need half a cup, some people need 1/4 cup, some people need 1 cup. We had one lady, she needed 3 cups a day. So I'm not sure how much you will need. You're the doctor there. So if you don't have an evacuation by the middle of the day today, please go and see the staff and they'll give you a little more. So we're waiting to hear from you because everybody is different. The colon also needs us to be drinking adequate water. One of the main functions of the colon is to take water out so stools are formed. If a person's dehydrated, more water gets taken out than should be taken out, and the result can be rabbit pellets, cement, thus constipation. What also stimulates the colon is laughter. Proverbs 17:22 says, "A merry heart doeth good like a medicine, but a broken spirit dries up the bones." I'd like to suggest that a broken spirit can dry up the colon too. So it's important to relax and laugh. Happiness is a choice. One of the things, you've met our twins. Can you tell them apart yet? I'm having trouble still. But have you noticed that they're always smiling? And you've met Josh, who's always cracking jokes and making everyone laugh. So the laughter is very important. And exercise is important. When you exercise, you're exercising the colon. The colon moves with exercise. It increases circulation of the blood to the colon. But what's also important is position. When I was in many Asian countries, in fact I was in Africa last year, and I went to the toilet there and it was a hole in the ground. Well, it's tiled, it's all flush, but there's a hole. And I saw the same thing in Singapore, and I saw the same thing in India. Many countries, traditionally, people would squat. And they have discovered that squatting does something inside the colon. Let me show you. So let's draw the throne. This is the throne, and here's someone sitting doing their daily evacuation. And when a person sits on the throne doing their daily evacuation, this little muscle, it's called puborectalis. This little muscle holds up the last part of the colon, and we're very glad it does, because if you need to go and the plane's about to land, you can't. Or you're in the traffic jam. I'm so glad that we have the ability to hold, because sometimes you can't, and you just can't. And that little muscle there aids us to be able to hold it back. The problem is that people use that little muscle when they really shouldn't. They're watching something on the television and they don't want to stop, or they're digging a garden and they don't want to stop, or they're writing an email and they don't want to stop. It's very important to, when the body says go, we should go. And have you noticed, if you're doing something and you feel to go but you don't, have you noticed that half an hour later you go to go and you can't go? Because when you feel to go, this fills up here. And if you don't go, the body can't leave it there, because it'll put so much pressure, it'll weaken your anal sphincter, which you don't want weak, and so the body takes it back into the last part. And that's why half an hour later when you sit, you can't go, because it's actually gone back into the previous part of the colon, and yet what's still happening is the water's still taking out. It's not the odd day you might use that, or the odd day you don't. It's what you do every day that makes it. So what happens when you squat? And you can buy little stools today so that the knees are up, mimicking the squatting position. That squatting causes this muscle to relax, and when that muscle relaxes, the colon opens and you can pass with greater ease. It also takes all pressure off the anus. And so science now shows why this is the best way to do your daily evacuations, and that's why position comes in with the colon. And you'll notice that we have little stools in front of the throne. One last one before we finish is the tongue. And don't be surprised if when you wake up tomorrow morning the tongue doesn't feel very nice. and Wednesday morning, and there's a simple way that you can encourage the waste out of the tongue is oil pulling. And while you're on the detox, I would encourage you to try and do this maybe 2 or 3 times a day. Just take the spoonful of coconut oil, swish it in your mouth, 10 seconds swish, 10 seconds rest for 10 minutes, and then release it out. Not down, we call it the plug hole, but you call it the sink hole. Is that what you call it? Down the sink? Yeah, don't put it down there because it'll go solid and plug up our plumbing. Please take a little walk outside and release it outside, and then take your water and rinse your mouth a couple of times, because it's going to pull a lot of waste into it, and it effectively does that. Great for strengthening the gums, great for lessening that build-up of scale in your mouth. So it's a great thing to take home with you and do it. Even just do it once a day when you go home, but try and do it about 3 times while you're here. We know when people are doing it because they start using sign language. So thank you for your attention.